Hey everybody, and welcome back to my mommy channel, made for moms by a mom. Before we get this video started, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you can join the mommy club because it's awesome. Make sure you give me a thumbs up on the video, hit that bell button so that you can get notifications of when I post, and comment down below your experiences or any advice that you have for me or any other moms, and make sure you share this video with other moms. Today I'm going to do a little story time of my epidural. So it's kind of funny, I guess, but not really. Or it wasn't funny at the time, at least, but I guess when I think back on it, it's kind of funny now. So when I wasn't sure when at first whether I was going to get an epidural. I was really scared. I'm scared of needles, and I watched all these videos about how epidurals are done, and I was so freaked out, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, what if you get paralyzed, blah blah blah, like so I was really scared, but I was thinking to myself, okay, if the pain is that bad, then I'm just gonna get an epidural and I'm just gonna have to take it like a champ, right? So so I got induced. If you haven't watched my labor and delivery story, then you can watch it. I'll put a link down below. But I got induced, and the whole induction process was not going well, but I was in pain because I had contractions the whole time, but they weren't strong enough, and my pelvis wasn't, like, I wasn't dilating or anything to start to push. So they gave me this medicine. I don't know what it's called, but they put it in my my IV, and what it did was it made me really loopy and sleepy. Oh my gosh. It was supposed to help me like calm down and go to sleep and everything, but they told me that this medicine, I could only get it once. So if I got it a second time, it wasn't gonna work as well as it did the first time, and I couldn't get it also if I planned on getting an epidural, because they would like cancel each other out or something, and then the epidural nor the medicine would work. So I got it so I could go to sleep and rest. And I was talking about building a rocket ship, and like how I wanted to go to space, and how there was no porta potty in the rocket ship, and it was ridiculous, right? So anyway, I ended up going to sleep, waking up, and then probably the next day I just couldn't take the pain anymore. Like, my contractions were getting stronger, but they weren't. I still wasn't dilated, and my cervix, of course, wasn't softened. So I'm just having these contractions, and after a while I just could not take the pain anymore. And they were telling me, because the anesthesiologist who does the epidurals came to see me, in the beginning, and they were like, if you need to hold out as long as you can for this epidural, don't get it too soon. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't get it right now. So I was like, I can't get it right now, but I'm in pain. And the nurse was finally like, look, you look like you're in pain. Like, if it hurts, just get the epidural. Like, now's a good time. They went to go get the doctor. The doctor was like, oh, yeah, you can get the epidural right now. It's fine. So I was like, okay, well, call the anesthesiologist, right? So in between that, my mom comes back because she had left the room, I think, to go to the bathroom or something. My husband had said to the nurse, well, I just want to give her that other medicine I was telling you about earlier. And they were like, well, it may not work or may work. He was like, well, she's in pain, and I just need you to give her that, because my husband did not want me to have an epidural. For some reason, he was scared. I don't know, but he didn't want me to have an epidural at all. So they're like, but you know it's not going to work. So my mom comes in the room, and I'm in so much pain, I cannot even talk anymore. So my mom comes in and she's like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, well, he wants to give her that other medicine. And she's like, no, they already said it wasn't going to work. And what if she needs an epidural and she can't get one? And it's a small window, of course, as to when you can't get epidural anymore. And she's like, she may not be in that much pain, or she is, or whatever, but if that window closes, then she can't get it. And it's very dangerous if you're in a whole bunch of pain to not get an epidural, because women hearts have stopped, they've stopped wanting to push, and then end up having to have a C-section. And it just becomes dangerous for the mother and baby if she's just in so much pain that she just can't do it anymore. So he was like, well, I don't want her to have it, And so my mom's like, no, she's going to have it. So, like, at this point, they're, like, arguing right beside my bed. Like, they're, like, right here. And I'm laying down. And, no, she's going to have it. No, I don't want her to have it. No, she's going to have it. I don't want her to have it. And I'm just sitting there looking at the both of them like, is this a time where we're gonna argue? And my mom's like, you're not a woman, you don't understand this and that, you don't know what her body's going through, look at her, she's in pain, she is in pain, why wouldn't you just let her have the epidural? So finally she's like, I'm not talking to you anymore, what do you want to do talking to me, right? And so I was just like, give me the epidural now. So the nurse was like, well, we gotta listen to her, she wants the epidural. And so my husband starts like hyperventilating or something. He's just like, shh, shh, shh. And she's like, my mom looks at him and goes, listen, it's gonna be okay, I've had 3 kids and had epidurals with each one of them, she's gonna be fine. I don't know, sorry, my hair is acting crazy. She's gonna be fine, she's gonna be fine. Look at her, she's in pain. You want her to stay in pain, blah, blah, blah. And so he's finally like, shh, shh. All right, fine, fine. And so they come in to do the epidural. Well, it took a while because there was like 2 women ahead of me getting the epidural. And I was just like so angry at this point. I'm like, where's the epidural? Where is it? Give me it now. And so they're like, please calm down. And I kept paging the nurse like every 20 minutes, because it takes almost like an hour, or is it 30 minutes? I can't remember, to do the epidural, because they had to take their time. So finally they get to me, and I had 2 anesthesiologists and 2 nurses, so they had to kick everybody else out of the room. So my husband was freaked out about that because he couldn't stay in the room with me, and he was like looking at everybody like, if you do something to my wife, blah, blah, blah. It was ridiculous. So then I looked at him and was like, hey, it's gonna be okay, I'm fine, like, I'm gonna be fine. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, listen, I need to do this. He's like, okay, I will be right outside the door. And then they're like, you cannot be outside the door. He's like, well, I will be right in the hallway. They're like, just go to the waiting room. Well, I'm going to be in the waiting room. But I was like, and then my mom had to grab him like, come on, let's go, whatever. And so I get in the room. The nurses were already in the room. And the anesthesiologist and the 2 anesthesiologists come in the room. And they were like, okay, they took my hospital bed and raised it all the way up. And they had that little tray, like the eating tray on wheels. And they were like, okay, they lifted it a little higher than the tray. And they were like, we want you to kind of bend like that and hold the tray with like my arms like this. And so I was like, all right. And so, they go around, the nurses are like holding me. So both of them are like holding me. One's holding me, like holding my body, because sometimes you jerk and stuff like that, so they gotta hold you. And then the other nurse was just like checking the machines and the medicine and my IV and all that. And so the anesthesiologist was like, I guess the other one was training because he was like explaining everything or whatever. So he's like, okay, first we're gonna start off with, they like trick you a little bit too, because they don't like, they trick you, so you don't like know exactly what's happening. So I'm like bent over, and you have to bend, so that the area and your back can be exposed, because there's like a small area in between your spine where they can go in and inject the and put the epidural in there. So you got to be still, you can't move, like they explained all that. And so he's like, all right, we're gonna get started. And he like, as he's doing it, he says, I'm gonna put this on your back, and then slaps it on my back. He's like, that's gonna be cold. And I was like, ah, like that, right? And I was like, oh snap, what was that? Because I'm like, great, I'm like paralyzed now. He's like, oh, I was just cleaning your back off. So I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to do it again. Slap. He's like, how was that? And I was like, well, that's okay. So I didn't move that time. And the nurse is holding me. She's like, come on, you got to be still. And I'm like, okay. So I didn't move that time. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to numb your back now. And so he took a needle and injected into my back. And I didn't move, but it didn't hurt at all. Like, I do not have a high tolerance for pain, and I am scared of needles, like I said before. But honestly, when you're in that much pain, you will do anything to make the pain go away. So, and they wait, because I was scared that when my contractions come, they would still go and then I would move. But they have a machine to show you contractions. So as the contraction is happening, he completely stops what he's doing, lets the contraction go by, and then continues. So that's why it takes longer. So he was like, you're having a contraction? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, oh. He's like, okay. And then he'll stop what he's doing. And he's like, okay, is the contraction over? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay. And then he'll go back. So he injects me with the numbing. He like numbs my back with something. He injects a needle in my back that numbs it. That didn't hurt at all. And so then after that, you put this long needle into your back, and it goes all the way in to your back, right? And then after that, they insert what they call a catheter, and they insert that through, and then they pull the needle out slowly, and then they just tape the catheter to your back. And so then you're hooked up to this other box machine, and that machine, the anesthesiologist comes in and they keep pumping you with epidural. So they start with like a test epidural, I don't know what you call it, but they start off with a tester. So it's like not a high dose, pretty much, to see if that's good enough for you. And then if it's not, they'll come back and give you more. And like as you get in pain, they just give you more and more, however much you need. So when they stuck the big needle in my back for the epidural, I did not feel it at all. At this point, my back was numb, because he numbed my back. So you don't feel that needle in your back. And then I felt the numbing part. It didn't hurt, but I felt it, right? And then my back area was completely numb, like the area that he was gonna put the epidural in. It was completely numb by the time he numbed my back. Now I can feel, like, this is gonna sound funny, but I can feel the sensation of the needle like going into my back. Like, something's happening to you, but you can't feel like pain or anything, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm like, I can feel it, but I don't feel any pain. And he was like, that's good, or whatever. So then they put it in, and then after that, they put the table beside me, and he was like, if you need any more, just call me and I'll come back. And so after he put that in, I was like, thank you so much. You're a lifesaver. I feel so much better, like instantly. I felt so much better. And so I'm sitting in the bed, like at this point, relaxed, like relaxed. And my husband comes in and he's like, "Is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, everything's fine. Like, I feel fine." And my mom comes in and she's like, "See, look at her. She feels better." So, I didn't know this at the time, but the one of the fibroids was hitting a nerve. It was like hitting a nerve, and that nerve was somewhere near my leg. So my upper thigh started to hurt, and every time the doctor checked to see if I was dilated, he would hit that nerve. So my epidural completely wore off, and they kept having to give me more dosages. And they were saying that they thought that that was weird, but I was telling him I could feel the epidural wearing off, because at that point, you can't feel from, like, I don't know, your belly button down, so you can't feel your feet. You can't you can't feel the if you have a contraction or anything, but they don't want to give you a lot of epidural, because if it's too numbing, then you won't have the urge to push. So they were concerned about how much epidural I was asking for. At the time, we didn't know, but also while as soon as they finished the epidural, they inserted a catheter. No, is that what it's called? What's that thing called where you can't go to the bathroom? It's called a catheter. They inserted a catheter up my urethra tube, because after you get epidural, you can't get up to go to the bathroom because your legs are numb. So I didn't feel that either. I don't know if that hurts or not, because I didn't feel that either. Thank goodness, because when I saw them pull that catheter out to insert it up there, I was like, good Lord, but I couldn't feel anything. So I have no idea if that hurts or not. But I ended up, of course, as you know, having a C-section anyway, which I'll do another story time just about my C-section experience. But I ended up having a C-section anyway, so you end up needing an epidural if you have a C-section. So for all the mommies out there who are against epidurals or don't want to do it or whatever, if you end up having a C-section, then you have to get an epidural anyway, because you're awake for your C-section, and so they pump a lot of that into you to numb you completely. So I ended up getting a whole lot of epidural at the end there, because I had a C-section anyway. So but that was my C-section story. It doesn't hurt at all. I know any videos you watch, they may scare you, but it doesn't hurt at all. And listen, if you're scared or anything like that, when you're in that much pain, because the contractions are painful, you'll want it. And even if your contractions aren't painful, you might want to get an epidural anyway, because of the fact that you don't know how much pain you'll be in when you have to push. And you want to be as comfortable and relaxed as possible for you and the baby. So, it's not like you're going to get a medal or anything if you don't have an epidural. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to do what you got to do for the safety of you and your baby. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.